Welcome to the Balance Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness, as well as your Balance ambassador. We have a guest that is a friend of mine, and we met through the YouTube space, and we're working on a collaboration, which we're very excited about. And today, in this episode, he's going to be sharing his insights, his background, and one of the exciting topics that I feel like he is very knowledgeable in is balancing the whole live and online perspective. Joe Alvarado, thank you for coming on the Balance Podcast.
It's my honor, Tyler. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, always a pleasure. And I know that we have to get this one started because I know that we can just ramble and just keep it going. And so let's start it off to kind of set the base for anybody listening in on this episode. Can you share your background within the health and fitness industry, where you started and what you're doing now?
Yes, I started probably about 15 years ago with an interest in indoor cycling. Really fell in love with that type of exercise, and it kind of grew from there to teaching like circuit classes, boot camp type classes, and eventually what I do today is a studio leader. So I oversee a group fitness department in Lifetime at Centennial, or in Centennial, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And with your job now and, being a leader, a team leader, and through that growth of it, what do you feel like was that push? Because I know that that's always one of my favorite things to ask the pros is, what was the big push? You had the interest. Was it a passion for helping others? Was it your own personal, you enjoy health and fitness you want to share with others?
Yeah, no, the push for me initially was just being in kind of a darker season of my life. I had always been active, growing up, playing basketball, football, even mountain biking and such. But the push to become an instructor and really go into this world of fitness was when I went through a divorce and I was like kind of in a dark place. And I walked into one of these classes, and the indoor cycling class, and I just fell in love with the workout, and then the community embraced me, and it just became something that really started to change me physically, mentally, and really kept me on track, I guess, for that season of my life. And so that was my push. And then I realized and saw what it did for me, for my body, for my mind, for my focus, my emotional and physical health, and wanted to do that for other people. It became something that if I can do this, if I could do what happened to me for other people, what they did for me, these classes, these people, this community, if I could return that would make me really happy. Yeah. And so my passion for it just grew from that. Like, can I do this for other people? And probably like you, Tyler, there's stories over the years that we have helped people, and some we'll never know, and some we do know, that could tell the story of when they took Tyler's class, or when they took Joe's class, or what it did for them. And so today it's about the people. It's about the love I have to see people stay focused, change their life, live healthy, think positive, and really be the best person that they can be for the people that are in their life, And so that's huge to me. Like, if I can make somebody's energy level and their brain, their mind thinking in a positive way, and then they go home to their family and they're better because of that, man, that's a win. That's such a win. So.
The part that I think I want to just expand on a little bit there, that at the time we're recording this, mid-December, and we're going into a new year. And this is the time when people start to make those goals. They make their goals. And to the part that I think is great to share, and there's a small piece, was how you were walking. I think you said you were walking by and you just kind of peeked in, and you jumped into something that you didn't know much about. And look what it grew, how it grew from there. A profession and a community, and something that's even more than that, with mentally, physically, all these different things. And the piece to take away, you never know with taking that chance with jumping into something like that. And I know that you also do stuff with stages, with education. I mean, you are a manager with Lifetime. So much grew from one thing right there. And for Fit Pros, health and fitness pros listening, that you never know what it could be. That's with, I'll say, my perspective. Whenever I take a meeting, I never know what it could be. You could be, uh, I don't want to say competitors in the same industry, but you never know what you can develop. You never know what can brew from this conversation in the present or in the future. So always a great piece to kind of expand on small, but you never know with it. Let's kind of talk about now, and this is going to get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, YouTube.
Yes.
Over the last few years, you got into the YouTube game. How did it start for you?
Well, for me, I think like many of us, when the lockdown happened over COVID, it was like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
How are we going to stay healthy? And for me, I have a background in video and audio because I grew up in the church, and I would always help my dad with the sound and the projector and the cameras, and was have experience myself with doing that. And I said, well, I've got equipment, we've got some things at the church, we've got some sound equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know how to do this. So why don't I do it? Why don't I start?
Yeah.
And that really it was what launched, the YouTube channel for me. And then it was just a whole period of learning, like, with consistency and music copyrights and camera angles and audio, voice to, like we were talking about earlier before this, voice to music ratios and dialing in, everything that comes along with that. And just, it's an ongoing learning process for sure. But that's how it started. Still figuring it out, still learning, how to get better. But I really, really enjoy it. And to say, I would, if anybody were to ask me, hey, would you ever think you would influence people in the UK or Switzerland or across the US or, never, and it's something that I feel honored, that people would take my classes online, like all over the world. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty
It's very cool. And a question that probably at this time this answer probably would have been different 6 months ago, 8 months ago. And right now, with the online and live space for health and fitness professionals, somebody might be listening and thinking, well, I do one. How do they work together? In your opinion, how does live and online mesh? Do they feed off each other? Does one help the other? What is that? What is your outlook on that?
The live and online is what you're asking?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I teach live here at Lifetime. And so I teach 4 classes a week, which I love live, and it's just something that the energy in the room and to see the people and all that. And the way that I see that taking that energy to YouTube is that whole imaginary process. Like I know what it feels like to ride live, and I know how people respond, and it's really learning, adding that skill set to say, I know what somebody might be thinking right now. I know what somebody might be doing, or I know that there's a chance that they might be tuning out right now, and I got to pull them back. You know what I mean? And so I see them feeding into one another that way. I think it's also cool that as you develop an audience online, that you can reverse, like you could say, hey, I know when I teach in person, this happens and that happens. And so you're literally talking to your virtual online audience, which really isn't virtual. They're real people, and they could resonate. They're like, oh, he teaches live too. That's pretty cool. And that gives them even a bigger, broader picture, if you will, of the personality that I have, and really getting to know your community, both online and in person. And then when I'm in person, I'm like, hey, the other day somebody commented on my channel, that I always do this, or I forget to do this. And I'll kind of bounce that back off my live, my live classes. Hey, if I ever forget to do that, let me know, call me out, And so it's kind of fun to see the interaction in that, from that context, I guess.
Yeah.
And learning from the live, what can I remember to say to the, to the online audience, and then the online audience comments. And most times, man, and we talk about impact. We just talked about how big of an impact we can have on people and how big of a passion that is for us. Most of the time, I get to know more of the passion or the help that I'm being from people online than I do in person.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the comment section, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll leave comments and they'll say, "Hey, I've been on this journey and you've helped me, and I can't thank you enough." And I don't always hear that live, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a give and take and a back and forth, and highlights of one that you can't get in the other, and so I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
how I see it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's two pieces that I kind of want to chat a little bit more about here, because the first one being that latter part, how people might be more inclined to comment, share some of their journey. I think it's the easiest way to say their journey with health and fitness that might not happen in person. In person, people might be worried with their appearance, but online, and I say that because we put so much emphasis on the people that are inside the gym, but
Right.
the people at home that do not work out, that is the overwhelming majority. I say that all the time. That is the overwhelming majority of people in this world. They are at home. They do not exercise and do not even have exercise on their radar. So if you can break down one of those barriers for them and create a space for them at home where they feel more inclined to share and open up about their journey, things that have impacted them with their health and fitness, I think that's one of the magical items of YouTube, that you are offering a free service, a high quality service, and now they can participate in these classes, share and grow. Just fantastic, in my opinion, right there. And the other thing that I wanted to chime in on was I feel like online has helped me stay sharp with instruction. I recently taught live, and I was worried. I was like, oh man, I haven't taught let me think. I had to jog my memory though. I think it was like 2 years. I haven't taught live. And I know that the last time that I taught live, I was a little rusty. I know it took me a couple sessions. I was in a group setting, and it took me a couple just to get back into that rhythm of teaching.
Yes.
But teaching online with Time to Train has really helped me stay sharp with my cues, my typical cues, my motivation that I provide, all these things. So exactly what you're talking about, they feed into each other, which is great. I think sometimes we overthink, I'm going to go online and we just have that camera there. But they feed into each other, which is such a great aspect of both of them.
Yes. That it can be that's spot on. That's spot on. Man.
Yeah.
And if I could just mention one more thing about what you had said, before this, there are people, to your point of there being, the overwhelming majority of people are working out at home, and the way that we can connect with them, the comment section, ways that we can connect, through other platforms like Instagram or Patreon or, Buy Me Coffee or whatever. And these are people potentially who may not go to the gym because they don't feel comfortable, or they don't feel like their self-worth or their image might be kind of low, but they could still talk to us because I don't see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's an inroad to them being able to, for us rather, to be able to help somebody who otherwise might not open up to anybody.
Yep.
Right? Because
100%.
they're, and they feel like they know us. And I'm so grateful for that part of it too. So thanks for mentioning that too.
Oh yeah. It's something that I think as health and fit pros, we forget that aspect, that the gym space sometimes creates we're all fighting for these people that are just coming to the gym, but the outside out there in the world is so many, overwhelming majority of people that don't. And that's the audience that needs help, needs to understand that we can help them and we want to help them. Here are different avenues to get help with your health, fitness, all that kind of great stuff. And a topic that I want to segue here to that I've heard you talk about in another podcast that we did, which I thought was very useful, was when you mentioned about royalty-free music and in person. It was along the lines of how you created a playlist with royalty-free music that you had used for an online workout for a YouTube channel, and then you played it in your in-person class. Can you kind of go over that and what the reaction was from the in-person audience?
Yes. Yeah. So we've talked about this before, and it's a great topic, especially for those of you listening who are wondering, and you're just like, man, I don't know if I can use royalty free, or I'm
Yeah.
so used to the pop or whatever, what's on the radio or on top 50 on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I would just say that, some of these, and you've done, I think some reviews on like Epidemic
Yeah.
Music, and they're great artists. They're really, really good.
Yep.
And, my fear going into it was, well, I'm not familiar with the song, or nobody's going to know the music, or it's just, and quite honestly, I thought it's kind of generic, or it will be, it's just not the same. But it's so good. It's so good. So to answer your question, I started using that on YouTube, started really finding, value in not only not getting my videos demonetized, but being able to use music that I can, monetize from. And then I took it over and I said, all right, well, I'm going to use a playlist that is copy free, or this, I have the rights to use it on my channel. I'm going to use it in a live class. And if it had, I did tell the class about it, because I'm pretty transparent with my channel and people. I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know, I've been working through this. This is part of the music thing, the music space I've been working through. And this playlist is probably artists you've never heard. But we're going to have some fun today, so I just kind of prefaced the class with that.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, by the end of class, they kind of forgot that I even said that was a class of royalty-free music, or the Epidemic library.
Yeah.
And they're just like, that was really good. Like, I had to remind them to give me feedback because they just enjoyed the class.
Nice.
So that's how well it went over. And so if you're ever, if you're listening to this and you're just kind of like pushing back, like me being stubborn, like stop, like, because I was stubborn too long, and I had to, really dive in. And there's different ways to find, like, I'll go to Kaylee Cohen's, her Spotify playlist and say, all right, save me a little time. I'm going to grab a few songs here because she has great taste in music, and compile some things, just like we do. We inspire each other, like I might hear your playlist, Tyler, and say, man, I need track 3 and 5, you know what I mean? Because that was good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how we work together. Those of us that are in this industry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say go for it. Like, for me, it was a great response in person. I'm having great responses online, and that's what I would say about that for sure.
Oh yeah. And I think I'll have to do another review for the Balance audience on Epidemic Sound. I feel like it was almost an eye-opening experience for me, with once I paid for a subscription for it. And I think it was probably because prior to that, I was talking to different fitness related royalty-free music companies, and I don't want to mention any of them. I'll just say that I spoke with a handful of them, and it was a tough situation. That one, they wanted twice the amount of money, smaller library, and it was a much more difficult process than with Epidemic Sound.
Right.
Great, you get a 30-day free trial. You can immediately log into your accounts, and I will say that with Epidemic Sound, if there is ever maybe a small claim or some issue, it's almost resolved immediately. I don't think it's ever been more than 30 minutes. You get an email from YouTube that there is an issue with this. 30 minutes later, boom.
Gets cleared. Yeah,
exactly. It's so easy.
Yep. So easy.
Yeah. So I rave about Epidemic Sound because of that fact. I just have had nothing but positive experiences with it. There might be a little bit of a learning curve with the how you're playing it, whether you're using a phone, computer. It might be different than a different app, but you figure those things out, and it's really.
Well, here's what I do, Tyler. I grab all the playlists, right, that I want, and then they're all on Spotify. So then I'll go build this playlist on Spotify, and then Spotify has the crossover. I can fade in, fade out, and then
Yeah.
it becomes normal to me because I always use Spotify. So if somebody's listening to this, they didn't know that. And the cool thing is the artist gets their piece because I'm streaming from Spotify. The company gets their piece. So everybody gets to work together and everybody gets to monetize off of it. So there's that too.
I think I'll need to check that. I didn't know that. I'll admit that on this podcast, I didn't know that. And I think myself and also the instructors that work with me, we will probably enjoy it. So great tip right there, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue this YouTube business discussion and with your channel and growing it. What have been some of your favorite aspects with with investing your time with YouTube? Because I don't want to, I want to say this to the audience that he does multiple camera angles. He's editing, he's putting in graphics, he has his own filming space. He invested time, money into this, that to make it a professional video and a professional workout for the YouTube community. What have been some of the benefits and the things that you've enjoyed about YouTube?
I love learning, first of all.
Yeah.
And I love audio and video. Like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in church, being able to be behind the soundboard and behind the projector and behind
Yeah.
the all of those things. So I've always loved like visuals and audio, and I even went to school a little bit after high school for audio engineering,
Oh, nice.
and just love that whole space. So it feels pretty natural for me to do that. But things change over the years, and this was a long time ago when I learned a lot of those things. And we still, we've evolved even at our church over the years. But I love the learning process. I love, like, what tools are out there? What videos can I watch? And it's all like YouTube, right? Let me find a YouTube video on
Mhm.
the latest, camera or switcher or tool. And I think one of the things that's so much fun for me in the journey, and it's work. Like, I say fun, but it's work, because we gotta,
Yep.
we learn something, and then we gotta, put into practice or whatever.
Yep.
But I think just learning the new technology, learning, watching that one video that says, oh my God, that's going to save me a half hour of editing time right now, that's
Yep.
going to save me this, and it's going to up my quality, and really the learning process. That I love being creative, and then hearing the feedback from your audience. Like, they both go hand in hand. Like, what is your audience saying? Like, did they say they couldn't hear me that well during this particular class, or they comment something about the lighting or the sound, or and how can I get that feedback, improve, and continue to develop my workflow in a way that allows me to produce more content in a quality way, that I'm having fun doing.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of some of uh, the the journey, and some of the ways that I have fun,
Oh, yeah.
really this learning,
I love it.
and
I
it
love
never
it.
ends.
Yeah. Yeah. With YouTube, I'm just going to share this because we're both fit pros, and I'm sure that we can both share even stories in this realm about it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I really enjoyed that I thought about in the last week was how you don't have that mind. You're not constantly thinking, how do I get that next sale? The money aspects of it, which is it's a tough part, and I don't want to underestimate or undervalue this journey that you have to go on with YouTube, because it's not as quick as maybe some people think it is, or people might be discouraged when they see their channel not growing how they want, how to get the minimum requirements for YouTube with the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours. It's tough, but it's a journey. You have to look at it as a journey. But once you get to there and you start building more and you're thinking, okay, you start seeing how much your channel is making. Oh, wow. Like, if I just keep working on this path, this is going to grow. This is going to grow more. Then this is going to grow. So
Yes.
you get into that mindset of just how Joe said, you're looking at different ways to be more efficient, to be creative. And that's really the beauty of YouTube, in my opinion, especially for fit pros, that I feel like once we enter the industry, we get so trained to be cutthroat and to compete, and getting away from that and working with others in the same space, it's really a joy. So it's something that I highly recommend for fit pros. Joe, what would you say to somebody maybe on the fence that has thought about it, doesn't quite understand YouTube, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I agree with what you're saying. It is a grind. It can be frustrating. It can be like when will I ever get to the minimum
Yep.
requirements for monetization? You just got to keep grinding, but it will happen. And I would say that um, be yourself, be who you are, learn
Yeah.
from your audience. Be patient for sure, and there is an audience for everyone. There is an
Yes.
audience. That's the thing with YouTube that not everybody may understand, is that you are you for a reason, and there are people who like who you are. Right? You just have to grind long enough for them to find you. That's
Yep.
really it. And keep chiseling away at the quality as you go.
Yeah.
And that's really the beauty of it. I mean, there's millions of people online every day, and you're after the people that feel connected to you. And YouTube is doing a better and better job all the time with their algorithms and their suggestions, and the way that they, put your thumbnails and your videos in front of an audience is looking for something, like what you have. And they continue to improve. And then, over time you find that audience that feels connected to you, loves you. And then I'll say, man, go check out Tyler. And they're like, yeah, we love Tyler too. It is this big, like,
Yep.
whole collaboration thing that we all win, together.
Yep.
So just keep grinding, be patient, find your audience. You have one. There is an audience for everybody out there.
I love it. I love that positive. So we're getting now to the podcast closing tips here. And this one is a general question. And I think it's a great time to ask a fellow Fit Pro this question, because rounding out the year, going into a new year, Fit Pros, we're just like anybody. We want to make plans, goals for the new year. And we're also trying to guess what the future is like with the fitness industry. So, Joe, what are 2 closing thoughts on the future of the fitness industry that you would like to share with the audience?
I would say that 2 things, and it might sound simple, but I would say 2 things. I would say, one, it's not going away. Like, people are going to want to be healthy. They're going to want to move their body. They're going to want to take care of themselves. And that's just it. So it's not going away. And the other side of that is it's ever evolving. And again, I don't know that I can predict what it evolves to, but I would say try to stay linked up with people who like you and I and Jason, Kaylee's husband, that we're constantly seeing what is the trend now? Where is it moving towards? What is, how can a YouTube short help my channel? Follow, stay dialed in. Like, don't get tunnel visioned into what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because the world changes. If the iPhone 1 never became the iPhone 14, iPhone would have died a long time ago. We wouldn't want that phone anymore. But it evolves, and it gets better. And I would say it's not going away, and be open to moving with the evolution of it, if you will. So I would just say those 2 things.
That's great. That's great. Before we sign off here, can you share your social media links, your channel URL for YouTube?
Yes. YouTube now has the shortened YouTube, but it's just at Joe Alvarado. So YouTube at Joe Alvarado. And then same with Instagram, it's at Joe Alvarado. Pretty simple. Even Twitter at Joe Alvarado. Like, I got in on all these earlier, so I got a chance to get my name on there. But if it's just at Joe Alvarado. And you'll find my indoor cycling channel. You'll find my Instagram. You'll find Twitter, which I'm starting to be a little bit more active on, and even TikTok at Joe Alvarado. Like, all of them are at the same handle, if you will.
Nice. Great. And I'll include those in the description for this episode, so you can go check out his channel, follow him on social media, all that great stuff. Joe, thank you for coming on the Balance Podcast, being my guest, and sharing some really great stuff for the listeners.
I'm honored, Tyler. Thanks for having me.